Wait, that's happened? Cobra Effect, myth or true? History is full of strange but true stories that sound too perfect to question. Neat little cautionary tales that get repeated so often they harden into fact. One of the most famous is the so-called Cobra Effect, a story taught in economics classes, quoted in podcasts, and shared online as proof that incentives always backfire. The tale is simple, elegant, and deeply unsettling. British officials in colonial India, desperate to reduce deadly snakebites, offered a bounty for every cobra killed. People, the story goes, responded rationally, by breeding cobras for profit. When the government realized its mistake and canceled the program, breeders supposedly released their snakes, making the problem even worse. It's a perfect morality play about human behavior, government failure, and unintended consequences. There's just one problem. Almost none of it happened the way we're told, and the real story is far messier, more human, and far more interesting than the myth that survived it. In the late 19th century, snakebites were a genuine public health crisis in India. Tens of thousands of people died each year, not just from cobras, but from many species of venomous snakes. Colonial administrators were under pressure to act, and around the 1870s, they turned to a solution that felt practical and measurable: bounties. Pay people to kill dangerous animals, and surely deaths would fall. Snakes were not alone in this system. Tigers, wolves, and other threats carried rewards as well. The goal was simple: reduce deaths among both people and livestock. The numbers, however, refused to cooperate. Year after year, snakebite deaths hovered stubbornly around the same figure, rarely dipping below 19,000. At the same time, the number of reptiles turned in for payment exploded. In some years, well over 100,000 snakes were brought in. Administrators began to suspect that something wasn't working, though what exactly was wrong remained unclear. There were rumors that people might be raising snakes for profit, but no hard evidence of cobra farms suddenly flooding the countryside. Importantly, there was also no statistical sign that the wild snake population had surged. Death rates did not spike. They simply didn't fall. Eventually, the bounty was reduced, not eliminated, just lowered enough that deliberately hunting for eggs or raising snakes was no longer worth the effort. What followed was not the dramatic chaos of legend. There was no mass release of captive cobras slithering back into the wild. People did what they had always done. They killed snakes when they encountered them and ignored the rest. And still, the death toll stayed frustratingly steady. Yet the program was not a total failure. As officials and local communities paid closer attention to when and where bites happened, patterns began to emerge. Farmers working barefoot in fields were especially vulnerable. Villages surrounded by thick underbrush gave snakes easy cover. Two reforms followed. Not grand economic levers, but simple behavioral changes. Farmers were encouraged to wear thicker boots. Vegetation around villages was cleared. The results were immediate and unsettlingly mixed. Deaths among farmers dropped. The boots worked, but deaths inside homes rose. With the underbrush gone, rats and frogs moved indoors, and the snakes followed them. A policy meant to make people safer had shifted the danger rather than removed it, trading one kind of risk for another. This is the real Cobra Effect, not a clean morality tale about incentives gone wrong, but a tangled story of partial successes, unintended consequences, and incomplete understanding. The bounty system didn't unleash hordes of snakes upon the population. It failed quietly, taught a few valuable lessons, and created new problems alongside the old ones. The danger of the story lies not in what people did, but in how eagerly we later simplified it. The neat version survives because it feels satisfying. It turns history into a punchline. But the truth is more uncomfortable. Even well-meaning policies can behave unpredictably, not because people are scheming villains, but because reality refuses to follow tidy rules. And sometimes, the real lesson isn't that incentives are dangerous. It's that the world is far more complicated than the stories we tell about it. If you enjoyed this strange piece of history, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more.